Okay, so I think it's time for an update on my terrarium. See how some of my plants are doing. I need to do some like maintenance on this tank soon because I haven't really touched it much at all. I need to like cut off all the dead pictures, clean the glass. I want to remove the third floor because I haven't really been using it. I think I just need more space on the second floor, and that's probably good enough because like I didn't need anything that close to the lights. And you know, anything that close to the lights, you have tiny pots anyways, and I don't really have too many tiny potted plants. And it's like you get enough light at this height anyway, so it's nothing that's too needed. Um, in terms of the plants, let's go around in a circle and take a look at how they're doing. On the corner here is Drosera. A while back I had it in a taller pot, but then the mother plant was just flowering a lot, which I guess drained some energy, but it was also producing all these little pups, like little plantlets. And it was really, really close to the mother plant because the pot was kind of narrow, and it was really hard to divide them up. So I repotted it in this water pot so that when the pups do form, like it's at the edge here, and I can easily get some tweezers in there and pull them out in order to keep the mother plant kind of like a specimen plant and keep it bigger. But yeah, now I have a whole bunch of like Adelaide plantlets everywhere in all these little pots, and there's just too many of them. I need to figure out what to do with them. Here is I think this is a Newton's. It's doing okay, I guess. It was sickly, I guess, last time I had it. Seems to be recovering now. I don't know if it was like a fungal infection or just too warm or whatever. But it doesn't look like the prettiest plant right now, but it seems to be, you know, still alive. It's not dying. Back there is a Sarracenoides. It's flowering. I think it has another flower stalk going up here. So apparently this is a flowering size for Sarracenoides. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Looking nice and big. I tried to get some pollen from the flowers with a tuning fork and everything, but I wasn't really successful. I didn't really get anything from it. So I don't know if my tuning fork frequency is the wrong frequency or my timing is off or whatever, but yeah, I wasn't getting anything from it. Back there, some Untitled juveniles, so nothing too interesting there, just a bunch of juveniles. Macrodontidae juvenile. Over there, a nebulae has started growing a couple of adult pictures, so I'm pretty happy with that. Nice looking pictures. This guy here is Pochella, a nice big clump. Seems to be doing pretty well, pretty healthy looking. And I probably need to repot it because it seems to be outgrowing its pot, even though it has a large pot there. Back there at the very, very back is supposedly a Heterodoxa. I got it from the Carnivorous Plant Nursery. And yeah, let me know if that looks like a Heterodoxa to you, because like the nectar spoon doesn't really look that right, you know. It doesn't really look like a Heterodoxa nectar spoon from the pictures I saw. Maybe I'm not too sure, but I don't know. The picture at the back, the very far back picture, is just drooling with nectar. Though look at it. Let me try to get the focus right. Maybe I'll get the camera at a better angle when I look at it from the right side of the terrarium. But yeah, this is dripping with nectar from the nectar spoon there. It's pretty cool. Got a large picture coming up, but yeah, I'm not sure if it's a Heterodoxa. So yeah, let me know if there's some question about it from the Carnivorous Plant Nursery. I don't know. There's also from the Carnivorous Plant Nursery, this one I think is a minor, but it wasn't doing too hot. I think maybe it's a temperature thing. I'm not sure if it's fungus though. Like I dosed it with some fungicide just to give it some TLC, some help. And it seems to be like hanging in there. It's not like sudden death syndrome or whatever. It hasn't collapsed or anything. I gave it a repot also. The roots didn't look like it's rotting away. But the pictures, you know, they weren't doing too hot. Like either some discoloration on some of these pictures. So I think it might be a temperature thing. Just too warm during the summer sometimes. I don't keep my cooling system on during the day. Maybe I should just keep it on all the time in the summer. But yeah, it might be a bit too warm. Over here is, I think this is the burgundy black. Not looking too dark right now. I think my LED lights have reduced in efficiency over the year. It's a 300 watt light, but I only keep it at 100 watts, so it's already reduced in power. And I think, you know, LEDs, when they age, they lose some of their efficiency, so they go to like 80% real fast. So I might need to bump it up a bit just to keep the same amount of light in the tank. But also probably because the temperature isn't cold enough for it to get more red. And also the pictures do also look like they're kind of also suffering a bit, like they're kind of going brown. Again, I don't think it's the sudden death syndrome, like, you know, with the fungus and everything, because you know that usually causes them to immediately collapse. But just in case I dosed with some fungicide, I think it's just temperature. It's just too warm, and it's also doing some flowering, so nice looking white flowers. The Sarracenoides had some pink flowers. These ones don't really look like how the flowers looked like when they bloomed. It was more like bright pink, but now it's all reddish colored. So I don't know what's going on with that, but yeah, these guys here, more of a white color. So pretty cool. Down here is my Sanguini. When I got it, it was real small. I think it was also from the Carnivorous Plant Nursery. Yeah, it was actually insanely small, but now it's gigantic. Look at this massive chonker of a picture here. So this one's the newest one. It's quite big. So pretty happy with that. But yeah, it's getting a bit large for the terrarium, so I'll probably have to move it outside the terrarium, maybe either put it on the bottom or put it on the windowsill. In the corner here, just some Adelaide cuttings. Some of them is a giant variety, but you know they split off so much that I haven't really been able to gain in size. I probably need to take one of the giant varieties and put it in a pot to make a specimen plant, just to get it bigger. Back there is the Shizandara. Yeah, again, because of the rise in temperature, it hasn't really, taken off in terms of like growing very fast, but it's still hanging in there. It hasn't really died back or anything. It also produced a few offshoots, so a few pups that I'm trying to get them to grow. It seems to be doing okay in the little dome, underneath the little dome there. They gained a bit in size, so it seems to be doing okay. And I have a few pots of Sphagnum. I have some red varieties, like there. Look at how dark red it is. And it's yellow varieties. So this yellow variety is really cool looking too. I really like the yellow ones also. I try to get some the red-green ones, the Christmas colored ones, but I think underneath like bright lights, it just becomes red. So I think it's just the same as the red variety, but it just wasn't getting full light. I think it's like something like this, where it's like half red, half green, but it's just the same as the red ones. They just weren't getting enough light. Yeah, I need to clean up the pictures a bit. There's another big chunky picture back there. It's probably the second newest one. And then the Cephalotus, I think this one didn't have dormancy. I just kept it in the terrarium the whole time. Seems to be doing okay. We'll see if it collapses in the future. I want to see if I could just keep them up without any dormancy. On the left here, this one did have dormancy, but it flowered. And it was on the bottom. I moved it inside to see if the ones in the terrarium were doing better. And I think they do. I think it's because of the humidity or something. The ones in my terrarium have way more pictures and way more growth than the ones outside. I think outside may be a bit too dry for them. And this one, yeah, the flower got too close to the lights, LED lights, and they kind of got fried. So yeah, you can see how hot it is during the summer. I probably need to keep the cooling method of the radiator and everything also on during the day, just to keep it cool. But right now, summer's almost over. It's September now, so probably too late this year. Maybe next year or something. Up in front here, there's a couple other flowering Heliamphora. I think this one is another Petiolata, or which one is this one? No, this one is Nepenthes. It's also flowering. Flowers look kind of like, I don't know what's going on with these flowers. A little bit wonky looking. Maybe some mites got to it or something. But yeah, I mean, that's apparently flowering size for Nepenthes. And then this one is also making a flower. This is another Petiolata, I think, from a different location. You can see a little flower stalk coming up. So yeah, I moved it in front here because this flower stalk was it was up there and it was just too close to the lights. Maybe that's why it came out kind of wonky too. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. I haven't really been successful in getting pollen from them. Maybe I'll order a different tuning fork. I think the one I got was 500 something hertz. It's not like a bad one. Yeah, probably can't hear it on the phone. You can't hear it. But yeah, it's maybe not the right frequency or whatever to get them to release their pollen. It's not as easy as the Cephalotus, where you could just take a paintbrush. You have to actually vibrate them at a certain frequency to simulate like a bee or whatever. So they're kind of picky about that. But yeah, that's the left side. Let's move on to the right side. All right, we could take a quick look at the right side of the terrarium now. Just mostly some Nepenthes and a few more Heliamphora. But before we do, I think I want to zoom in on that little nectar spoon all the way at the back there. I think it was pretty cool how much nectar is just trolling from that nectar spoon. Trying to keep the camera non-shaky, but it's hard. But yeah, look at all that nectar that's coming out of it. It's pretty cool. But yeah, let me know if that's a heterodoxa. Again, yeah, from this angle, you can see some of these pictures on this burgundy black suffering a bit. Maybe it's just that one picture. Maybe it's just getting old. Or actually, no, this one's also browning a bit. I think it's actually just the higher temperatures. Back there is Cephalotus. I think Cephalotus is one of the lowland Heliamphora. It's quote-unquote lowland, so it likes a bit higher temperatures. So yeah, it seems to be enjoying it, at least, if that's the case. Because it's a whole bunch of mature pictures coming out from it now. I think in the past, the last time I had the video, all of these were They're all juvenile pictures only. So I'm pretty happy with how things have turned out so far. This one's my voice is dying, sorry. This is a Purpurensis. It seems to have a couple of small non-juvenile pictures. I mean, it's not mature pictures, but at least it's not juvenile. We'll see if it gets bigger in the future. Seems to be doing okay though. This one is a parva, I think, and has a few mature pictures coming out. The only one that hasn't been doing too hot is the one all the way back there. I think that one is maybe a Hispida. I need to double check why it's kind of like dying away back there. It's still alive, but it might need some extra TLC. Maybe it's too hot back there. Over here, just some Cephalotus. I think I had 3 of these little cups of typical Ceph clones, and I repotted one of them into 4. I put some more, like divided them up into this one, and then the third pot I left alone in case, you know, it would kill them to move them right now. I let the pots dry out a bit. That's why they look kind of brown, but they're still alive, so it's just gonna be a while before they pick back up. You can see they're still green, so just leave them alone for a bit. Maybe it's gonna take another few years before they get to any reasonable size. These are just some Heliamphora, I think Expandiculatus. This one is the Ewok one. So I think in my first video, or a long time ago, like they had some red pictures. They're like the very reddish ones, and again, I think the LED power has gone down over the course of a year. So right now I have it at 50% here, so that's about 105 watts. I mean, I could turn it up to the max, so that's 300 watts. So I might have to turn up the wattage a bit to have the same light levels as I had before, because, you know, over time the efficiency goes like straight down to like 80% real fast. So you probably have to up the wattage a bit to compensate. But yeah, here's the typical one. I forget what location it's from. It's on the tag, but I can't seem to get the tag out right now. It's a bit bigger, less hairy than the Ewok. The Ewok is small and hairy, like the Star Wars Ewoks, I guess. So I probably need to divide these up a bit. They seem to be, you know, doing okay. Don't want to touch them when they're doing okay, but it seems to be doing okay. In the corner here, that is, I think it was a Newton's that was dying. And it's come back from the ashes. I've been slowly raising the little humidity dome over it just to get it acclimated. I could probably remove it now, but yeah, it seems to kind of come back alive, but it's going to take a while before it gets any bigger. It had a very large root system, so maybe it'll be faster in picking itself back up. I need to do some little like maintenance and remove some of the moss that's non-sphagnum moss and remove some of these dead pictures. But yeah, it is what it is, I guess. They seem to be doing happy. A lot of new growth points. Probably give it some divisions too when I have time over next spring. Down here, the Nepenthes, not too much has changed. I did get one new Nepenthes, which is this Nepenthes Hamada. So yeah, Hamada, one of my plants that I really wanted to get for a while now. And it's a tiny little one. It didn't come with any pictures, but I made a little picture just now. So I'm pretty happy with that. Seems to be doing okay. That means if it's picturing, it means it's probably happy. You can see the leaves have gotten smaller in this new condition. Maybe it's the brighter lights. Usually it's just from the shock of, you know, being in a new condition. The leaves get a bit smaller for a bit. But yeah, it seems to be inflating another picture, so it seems to be doing okay. Let's see how it goes over winter when it gets cooler. And I know it's more of a Hamada seems to be more intermediate, so you could probably deal with the summer temperatures right now. Right now, this is a Vetchii or something. Yeah, it's a Vetchii, I think. And then it has made this very, very large picture recently, compared to, you know, the one before it, which wasn't as big. It has this peristome now and everything. I mean, this is of course not the full size of a Vetchii picture, but like the new leaf it has, it's also pretty gigantic. So I think it's getting up there. So I'm looking forward to whatever new picture it's going to throw out. And this is what was it, Barcelona? It has a bunch of pictures. I think the large picture that it had, the first one, which was so far the largest, has finally dried out. I probably need to cut it off soon. It has made a whole bunch of other pictures, but has nothing as big as the first one it has. So I'm not sure why, but like in terms of foliage, the leaves are doing okay. It's getting bigger and bigger. Maybe I need to actually prune it a bit just so that it focuses more on like a single picture or something. We'll see how it goes. This one hasn't been doing okay. This is Berbigiae. I think because of the warmer temperatures, Berbigiae needs cooler temperatures in order to thrive. So it's not doing as hot right now. Not too many good-looking pictures. This one's doing pretty okay. This is a MA or something. So yeah, you can see it has a little fleshy bit underneath its picture that MA has. Has a new one here, a new picture. See a little fleshy bit right there, hanging off the lid. It's kind of like the characteristic of MA. This one's nice big chunky picture, another big one that's kind of in the cluster there. So yeah, it seems to be doing okay. And this one seems to like its conditions. There's one is a Petiolata. I don't think I see any new pictures. The old picture I had is starting to dry out. Yeah, this one's not forming a picture yet. I think there's a picture stuck back there, but it's getting kind of crushed by all the leaves. So I won't touch it too much. In terms of like the wine glass shaped ones, I think there's this is the dubia. Seems to be doing pretty good. It's supposed to be a seed grown dubia. Not sure if it's a true dubia. It seems to be pretty good, I guess. We'll see how the uppers look like in the future. It seems to be like starting to vine, you know. It's getting, the nodes are getting elongated between the leaves, and it seems to have a few extra growth points coming out from the sides too. So it seems to be doing okay. Lots of new like pictures coming out from it. Another one up here in the front. I think this is either a Jamban or Jacqueline. I think this one's Jamban. Yeah, little Jamban pictures. Always very cute. In the moss there. So Jamban seems to be doing okay. There's a Jacqueline in there somewhere. But I don't know if I could fish out a picture to show you guys. Jacqueline one. Was there one in there? I think there's a Jacqueline down here. Oh, this one's getting old though. Little Jacqueline picture. I think that one's a bit of an old one. I don't know where its new ones are. It's probably buried somewhere in the moss somewhere. I'll have to. Don't want to touch them too much. Every time you touch the plants, they kind of, you know, something happens and they die. Back there is a Zacriana or something like that. I forget what it's called. And then there's a few other juvenile pictures. Nothing too interesting to talk about. I think there's a Sibuanensis, little tubby one starting to inflate. It's pretty cool. And then this guy up here is doing really well. This is a Rienward Tiana, supposed to be a red variety. I think the first picture I had a while back was very red. Now it's less red. Maybe the LED lights are getting a bit less powerful, and then the picture walls are getting thicker, so maybe the light's not penetrating deep enough. But yeah, it's a very heavy picture. This thing is full of picture fluid. Wow, it's very heavy. Wonder if I could see the eye spots. Supposedly there's like a couple eye spots in there. I'm not too sure if that's the right variety with the eye spots. But yeah, it's a very heavy picture. This is like, if you hear it thump, you know, it's full of picture fluid. But yeah, it seems to be doing pretty good. Getting a bit of a red blush on this one because it's probably closer to the lights. It's getting bigger and bigger compared to like the little pictures I had before, little leaves and little pictures. It has a lot of picture fluid. This one is a Izume, so just a little juvenile plant. It has some very, very black pictures, very dark pictures. I don't know if the camera can even pick it up. So yeah, but it's still juvenile, so nothing too interesting there. Oh, there's another Rienward Tiana picture down there. But yeah, I guess next on my list to get is probably Aristocarloides, the little bird's nest shaped one, the little egg shaped one. That's one of my favorites. I had one a while back, and it probably grew to around maybe this size, the same size as this dubia here, and it actually flowered at this size. So it was a male flowering one, and I think back then I exchanged pollen with someone. It might have been Jeremiah actually. Gave him some pollen, and then he got some seeds out of that. So that was a while back. So let me see if I could replicate the successes of back then. That was when I was in Canada. But yeah, also intermiss, if I could find an intermiss. I can't really find an intermiss for a reasonable price. Like around here they're like $200 for an intermiss. I'm like, wow, that's and it's not even in stock, so it's a hard plant to get a hold of. But yeah, intermiss is one of the plants I really want to try to find one. And I probably need to untangle some of these and do some TLC, maybe some repotting, maybe move some to this side and need to clean up these guys, move some of these out of the terrarium, clean them up a bit, and then spread these guys out a bit because they're kind of like, you know, all the vines and stuff are kind of entangled into each other, and the pictures are getting kind of crushed by the leaves and everything. So it's not as pretty, but you know, it works. They seem to be happy with what they have currently going on. Maybe the temperatures can be lower for some of the very highland ones like this Burbigiae, but yeah. I think this is just some Ceph cuttings, plantlets, nothing too interesting there. Maybe we could take a look at the ones on the bottom. Let's take a look at what is going down on the bottom here. So I had a bunch of flowers from my Cephalotus, and I pollinated them with a brush and everything. I had little baggies over all the flowers to make sure they don't cross by accident. But now all the flowers are dried, so no need for the baggies anymore. I had stalks on the Eden Black, on the Queen Mary. Oh no, this is Charles Brewer Red. Sorry, Charles Brewer Red, and then a bunch of the Hummer's Giants. And yeah, the flowering really took a toll on the plants. Like when it was flowering, I basically got zero new pictures at all. In fact, like this one died back quite a bit. This one, like, you know, look, there's basically no mature pictures on it anymore. All the mature pictures have slowly died off. This one's pretty dark though. But yeah, like now it's finally stopped like flowering. These are just withered away. This one didn't pollinate that well. Like most of the flowers didn't really produce much pollen, so I couldn't really sell it with itself that much. I may have gotten like 40 something seeds from it. But yeah, it's also a very short flower stalk for some reason. But yeah, and you can see now it's starting to pick back up again with a bunch of new pictures. Also, I've been having some trouble with some, what was it called? The little mold. I think maybe you could see, I don't know, it's better now. The powdery mildew, so you can see some on the flower stalk here. Like these pictures, just a few days ago, were just entirely covered with powdery mildew. And like this one right here, entirely covered. And then on this guy, all the way on the right side, all these were covered with just a layer of powdery mildew. People would say it doesn't really harm the plant, but I think it definitely does. Like look at this picture. Like it usually ends up like this. They turn red, and then they they never open up, and then they just die off. So yeah, the powdery mildew doesn't really help. I've been spraying them down with some fungicide. I'll maybe post the name of it, but I have a new fungicide, and it after spraying it down, I haven't seen it come back yet. So like if you try to spray it with water, I didn't spray it down on the flower stalk though, but just mostly on the picture. I kind of just watered it a tiny bit there just to see if it will kill the plant. Same for these guys. But if you spray it down with water, the powdery mildew just basically comes back the next day. But so far, it's been a few days since I sprayed it with the fungicide, and it hasn't come back yet. So maybe it's a good thing to use. But yeah, like while it was flowering, this Eden Black had no new pictures at all. Now that the flowering has finally finished, you can see there's a bunch of new pictures coming out. All of these burgundy, or not burgundy, like, you know, not as dark pictures are all new ones. And then this is like this old one is the only old one left, and then maybe this one back there. It's kind of drying out though. So yeah, it's a whole bunch of new pictures, but it was looking real bad while it was flowering. So if you don't want your cephs to look like they're in a bad shape, like this basically, don't let them flower too much. The mother plant here wasn't doing too bad, but yeah, no new growth until the flowering has finished. Now I see a whole bunch of new pictures coming back out. Maybe it's seasonal, maybe it's a temperature thing, humidity thing, I don't know. But yeah, the flowering really stunted its growth. In terms of like, you know, what various cephs, I think I have a couple of newer cephs, although I have them for a few months now. This one is a vigorous clumping one. I'm just keeping it acclimated. Also, there's some random utricularia in the soil, so I was keeping it moist to keep the utricularia alive. I don't think the cephs need that much humidity. It's another vigorous clumping. This one, I just kept it outside a humidity dome. See how it does in comparison. This one was the weird one, which had a very calloused growth point. That callus kind of died back, but now it has a few normal looking growth points. This one's black lids or something, black purple. I don't know, it's just random typical, I think. This one is Dr. Edward Koenig's clone. It seems to be doing, like, not the greatest, but like I see a bunch of new pictures coming out from a growth point down there, so it seems to be still alive. So I'm not too worried there. As long as it's still green, it's still alive. Back there is, these are just Hummer's Giants cuttings. Again, like these were just covered in powdery mildew, but now it seems to be clean. Like this picture right here was entirely covered in powdery mildew, but now it seems to be clean now. So I guess whatever fungicide I used, I'll post the name of it on the video or in the description in case people need to use it too. It seems to have done its job. This one is, again, yeah, this one also suffered from powdery mildew. All of them basically suffered from powdery mildew. So I think the powdery mildew really set back its growth a bunch too. Queen Mary, now it's starting to grow back up with another growing point here. So it's picking back up. This is, what was it? German Giant. Also a bunch of new pictures recently. Maybe it's seasonal. Maybe it's just seasonal. Now they're at the right time of year for them to make a bunch of new pictures. Like I see another growth point down there making new pictures. I probably need to repot them, give it some divisions. This one is, what was it, Big Boy? Big Boy has some dark pictures. Also a bunch of, cluster of new pictures starting to pop up. So yeah, most of these pictures are kind of old right now. But yeah, it seems like crop of new pictures are coming back out. This one is Bubble Giant, I think. Yeah, Bubble Giant seems to be doing okay. Again, yeah, this one also suffered a lot from powdery mildew. So yeah, so the only one that didn't suffer is probably the squat one. I think maybe because it was more buried in the sand and the sand kind of dried out the mildew or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, if like most of the cephs, if you mix them up with a bunch of typicals, you'll never be able to tell them apart. But the squat is one where, you know, just from the morphology of the picture, it's actually different than a normal ceph picture. You can see it has this like halfway down, there's a little ridge. I can't point to it with my one finger here, but there's a little ridge halfway down the picture. So that's a characteristic of a squat. And other than, you know, it has this very squat shape. It has a whole bunch of mature pictures starting to like pop out of the sand, a bunch of little growth points. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. Seems to be doing okay. So nothing to complain about there. Recently, I've been keeping this place very dry. I mean, I just watered it now, but usually I keep it like, you know, there's no water in the water tray at all. And I think that was also kind of stunting the growth of these cephs. They just weren't getting enough water. Overall, I've gotten a bunch of seeds. I think I got like almost, it was maybe 300 something, 400 seeds from the Hummer's Giants. And then maybe 40, and then maybe from the smaller flower stock from the Charles Brewer Red. And then I think maybe 80 from the Eden Black. I'll see if they sprout though. I mean, the Hummer's Giant seed looked like the most viable. They were the most like fleshy and large, whereas like these seeds were kind of like small and stunted. I don't know what was going on with these guys. And same for the Eden Black ones. There's a few good ones in there, but like it felt like they weren't making that much pollen for me to pollinate without, you know, having. I didn't cross pollinate. I just pollinated within the same flower stalk, and they weren't making that much pollen. So I don't know. Although the Hummer's Giant was making a lot, so we'll see. We'll see how he does. We'll compare the non-stratified versus stratified, and then see if the fungicides I use kill off the seedlings or not. I'm not opposed to using chemicals. I know a lot of people say that you shouldn't really douse too much chemicals with your plants or whatever. In my opinion, like, you know, like these guys aren't growing in their natural environment anyways. That's why you're getting these powdery mildew or whatever. This is not a natural environment for them, right? That the airflow is not right. You don't have the right predators or whatever that, you know, prevents all of the pathogens from taking over. So you got to give them a bit of extra help, in my opinion. I mean, like maybe some better growers out there can do it without, you know, more extreme measures. But in my opinion, like some of these pesticides and fungicides, I looked into them. They seem pretty okay to use. We'll see how it goes. On the left side here is some pink Aquila. I just recently did some divisions off of them. So this is a rotundifolia. I managed to get like, I think I have 4 rosettes now. Just divided that, I think, yesterday. This is a Gigante. Seems to be doing okay. A Hersii. This one, it formed little pups, like, and I thought I had to dig it out and, you know, cut out the pups myself, but eventually the pups just pushed themselves out from underneath the plant, kind of like this. See how this little pup down there kind of just it kind of just migrates further and further away from the mother plant, and I just took a tweezer and just pulled them out, and they weren't even connected to the mother plant anymore. So that was pretty neat, and didn't have to uproot my mother plant there. You can see I have 3 different Hersiis. This one's from Hidalgo, this one's from some other location, a vendor, I forget what it was, and then this one is the Victoria one, which is my largest one there. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Back there is more Mornensis, and then the Taquitos. So a bunch of divisions of the Taquitos. They seem to be doing okay. So yeah, I probably need to get more pink Aquila though to fill out this tray. I keep it separate from my other plants because my soil mixture for the pink Aquila is a bit different. I just didn't want to mix them around just in case. It has like dolomite, whatever in there. I don't know if it helps, but it doesn't seem to hurt, so keep it as is. I have a few seedling trays. This is the 3D printed pots. Still holding strong, I guess. Nothing too worrisome. I did see a bit of like oily film in the water tray that I don't think I see in my other water trays. But it could just be the clear tray makes it so that it's hard to see any oily film. But I think I see an oily film. Like, I don't know if it's from maybe the plasticizer from the 3D printing, or maybe it's just from, you know, like dust, or I'm near a kitchen and the oil is kind of collecting and it's easier to see on the black tray. So I'm not sure. Maybe I'll wash it out and double check.
But I mean, so far the plants seem to be doing okay. I mean, these are easy to care for plants. So these are all seeds from the Flytrap store forums, their seed bank. So some of them have some more successes than others. This one only has like one seedling, and I think there's another one down there probably get eaten by the slime mold. This one is what, Capillus. This one is Brevifolia. This Rotundifolia, which requires some stratification. So when I stratify the seeds, I just put them in some water in a little container, and I put it in the refrigerator for like a couple of weeks. So yeah, so nothing too crazy there. This one didn't sprout. This one is intermediate. That one didn't have any successes. Over here on this tray, let me try to get around here so I can get a better angle. So this one is a Venus flytrap that was on my windowsill. All my windowsill Venus flytraps are kind of suffering a bit. They're like kind of just dying away. Like I had to move them down into these lights here because there's just not enough light on my windowsill. But you can see underneath my LED lights, they're finally starting to color up a bit. Before it was just all green, like like this. I mean, they're doing okay. It's just that you want them to be red. So underneath the LED lights, it seems to be coloring up again, and it seems to be doing okay. So I probably will move more of my Venus flytraps to this side underneath the LED lights. This one is what was it? Phalanx. Yeah, it's also in some TLC. I probably need to repot them. I think maybe the soil media has compacted too much, and they're kind of getting stuffed out. And they're like some of the ones that are potted, like from the vendor, aren't doing as great as the ones I repotted. So I might need to repot them. I think it's just too compacted in my growing environment. I don't know. Maybe it's because how I water them, or just my environment. But I probably need a looser soil mixture. It's very dense. This pot is insanely heavy, so maybe it's just choking it out. So I have to double check and maybe repot it a bit. Down here, some more seedlings. This one was Drosophilum from all the way from like last year. It still hasn't sprouted, so I think they're just dead seeds. Trying some Sarracenia seeds from the flytrap store. This is some Pygmy Venus flytraps. Look how small they are. Yeah, the thing is, I don't know about Pygmy Venus flytraps. I think this one, it's slowly dying away. Maybe it's because I'm not feeding it, because I can't really feed it. It's so small. But I think it's just slowly getting smaller and smaller. And it tried flowering a few times. Maybe I cut the flowers too late, so the flowers probably drained a lot of energy from it. I mean, the flowers are bigger than the plant itself, so I don't know. Some Nepenthes seedlings from my Nepenthes on the windowsill. Some more seedlings from the flytrap store, doing okay. A bunch of Pygmies. Like, I mean, I'm not that into Pygmies. I just wanted to try it out. The only one I really like is probably Scorpioides, whatever it's called. But I don't have that one. But yeah, it seems to be doing okay. Some of them, at least. I know one of the pots didn't really, the Palisade or Pochella, Pochella didn't really do too well. Didn't have any sprouts on that one at all for some reason. And then this one is a random Codex seedling. I think it's probably a Dorstiana fotida. I have some seeds from a plant on the windowsill there. But yeah, in terms of dead plants, the Biblis has been dead for a while. I don't know how to take care of Biblis. And the Roridula eventually also succumbed to some fungus on the... it's still very sticky. It's been like dead for months now. It's still very, very sticky. But yeah, there's some fungus on the growing point, and it kind of spread throughout the plant and died. I have another video about my Venus flytrap flower stock cuttings, so you can watch that if you want to see how I did this. But yeah, I got some successes out of my flower stock cuttings. Seem to be pretty good. I started another tray. This one, the flower stalks are very, very old. So these are like end of season flower stalks, so they're not fresh. So we'll see how they end up. It might not be any successes from these ones actually, because there are some very old flower stalks. The flowers already set seed, and maybe I should have cut the flower stalks way earlier. But we'll see how it goes. This one's a Pink Okinawa, sorry, the Spatulata Pink Okinawa from the flytrap store. A few other Venus flytraps that are in TLC. So nothing too interesting going on in this side. But yeah, I guess that's a tour of most of my plants. I think, yeah, I need to move some of my windowsill Venus flytraps down here. Yeah, I need to probably clean up some stuff a bit. Repot all my cuttings and stuff. Maybe do some divisions of my Cephalotus because I haven't really touched them too much. And yeah, so far so good. We'll see how the seedlings go. And nothing too much else to add, I guess. So yeah, that's pretty much my collection so far. Maybe when it's sunny again, I'll probably do a tour of my windowsill plants too. Yeah, let me know what you think so far. And
yeah, let me know if you guys have any opinions on that Heterodoxa from Carnivorous Plant Nursery. If you go on the website, even the website picture looks like, the lids look like that. So I'm not sure if that's just what Heterodoxa looks like, because when I go on like, Google Images, some of them look more pronounced instead of being connected to the picture. It looks like more like a purpurensens or something. I don't know. I mean, not purpurensens, but maybe it's a hybrid. I don't know. And also, I need to like do a lot of cleaning and repotting. I need to clean the window pane here. I need to repot a bunch of the plants and probably cut some dead pitchers. I haven't even like fed them often recently. I need to go and do a little feeding for all of them. But yeah, so far everything seems to be doing okay. Hopefully, once it gets to the fall, the temperatures drop a bit, and I'll see some more growth in some of the colder loving plants. I know like the sanguine is looking very handsome now. This is sanguine is not an expensive plant. Like it's probably, I remember in Canada a while back you could just get one of reasonable size for like $15. But this picture is a very handsome looking picture. It's nice and chunky. And it's only going to get bigger. Sanguine can get pretty big, so I need to like move it out of the terrarium somehow and put it somewhere else. A bunch of flowering Heliamphora. I think I have 1, 2, 3, 4 flowering Heliamphora. So it might be the warmer temperatures. Maybe it's a bit drier that triggered a multiflower. Because I keep my photoperiod the exact same. So maybe it's the temperature that triggers them to flower at the same time. I'm not sure. Nepenthes, they're still mostly juvenile. Nepenthes can all get very big eventually. So right now they're all just juveniles. Hopefully the Hamada gets some nice looking pictures next time around. And then in terms of the Cephalotus, we'll see how the seeds do. Hopefully by the next video I make, I won't come back and say, oh, I just got a box of mold here to show you guys. Hopefully I get some seedlings. We'll see how the stratified versus the non-stratified ones do. I heard that some people say it's equal, like the non-stratified ones will sprout first, but you'll get less sprouts, whereas the stratified ones will sprout later, but you get more sprouts. Some people say the ones that sprout first do better because they get bigger, right? And you want them to be bigger overall. Whereas some people say that if you don't stratify, even though if they're fresh, the strike rate is so low compared to stratifying that you might as well just stratify. So it seems like it depends on the age of the seeds. My seeds are about a month or 2 months old, since I harvested them all and sold them at the same time. So some of them are about a month old, some of them are more fresh. It's a mixture, I guess. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, I need to do a lot of repotting. Some of the cuttings here, or flower stalk cuttings, gotta repot those. But overall, I think everything's doing okay. And well, yeah, we'll see how it goes over the winter or fall months. But yeah, thanks for coming along, and hope you guys enjoyed.